One of the things that I found interesting last night was that Roger Maris's son has followed Judge around the last while and was there at the ballpark here in Toronto last night to congratulate, celebrate. And one of the things he said is he recognizes Judge's mark as a legitimate tying of his father's record. He does not look at Sosa, McGwire, or Bonds and their numbers as being legitimate. And I mean, there are still a lot of people who believe that, and I am one of them. Are you?
Yes, I am. I look at 61 as the authentic single season record, to borrow a word that our colleague Bob Costas uses often when he talks about these milestones and the aberration of what those years were during the McGwire, Bonds, Sosa era. This is what Judge has done, the most home runs ever hit since the start of steroid testing in Major League Baseball. And that is an important distinction here, that he has done this in an era of testing. And I think it's important to understand the historical context of what Judge has done in comparison to what McGwire, Bonds, and Sosa have done. I would point out that I have, up until his last year on the ballot for Barry Bonds, I have voted for him for the Hall of Fame. I believe that his career was worthy of enshrinement, that his career has historical significance, even though I don't necessarily, and in this case, I don't view his single season home run record as being authentic. I can take an issue with a part of his resume and in my own mind deem it to be inauthentic without, in my mind, withholding my support for Bonds for the Hall of Fame. That may be splitting hairs, but that's how I view it. I think in the case of the Hall of Fame, you're considering the full player, the full resume, all 360 degrees about where
we had
the
a
player
discussion
is.
like this yesterday about another sport and another player, just for the record.
Right. And but I'm saying now in this case that the single season mark, the one that I consider to be the authentic and real and genuine record, that is now a tie between Roger Maris and Aaron Judge.
I agree with you. Do you feel the same way about Roger Clemens, though? Does Roger Clemens get a Hall of Fame vote, given
Sure.
that a significant number of his victories were pre-steroids? And, certainly the steroids helped, but he would have had some significant number of additional victories in the years after he started taking steroids. How do you view him?
I have always voted for Clemens, and I would if he was still remaining on the ballot, which again he's not, at least for the writers. Yes, I look at Clemens and Bonds in a very similar category. That's career achievement. That is the full resume of the player, fully understanding that a lot of the competition was also influenced by PEDs. But to use a comparison, let's say that Roger Clemens had won 31 games during one of the years in which there was ample documentation and evidence that he had been using PEDs. And then someone tied Denny McLain's 30 wins. I would regard what Denny McLain did as the single season record, that was the single season authentic wins record. And that if Clemens had won 31 or 35 in some aberrational year, that I would not dismiss it. I would not pretend like it didn't happen, but I would regard the authentically achieved number as being the one that ought to endure.
So here's my problem with that theory, because I considered that. Like I would not have voted for any of the steroid guys.
So not A-Rod. You wouldn't have voted for A-Rod.
No. And here's the theory. A surgeon, a well-known surgeon, age 55, spends the majority of his life saving lives. Actually documented saving lives over and over and over again. Then he kills somebody. What's your position on that? Does he go to jail? Does he not go to jail? Broke the law. Of course, he goes to jail. His prior good deeds, and you could take any scenario where a guy does good deeds all his life, but late in life goes crazy and does something that is against the law. Well, in my mind, if you kill somebody, you are a killer, regardless of what you've done, and you will pay the same price as somebody who was a bum off the street. And that's how I look at these three guys. Is, you know, I acknowledge what you accomplished while you were clean, but then you decided to go dirty. And that period of being dirty in the case of Sosa, McGuire,
allegedly.
and Bonds is home runs. It's a number. And I'm not going to vote for you.
So let me throw another question at both of you, because you know, for the longest time there was a complaint that there should be an asterisk beside Roger Maris. 162 versus 154. How many home runs did Aaron Judge hit this year as a designated hitter?
It's a great question. I don't have that number off the top of my
But
head.
he did, I'm sure, right?
He hit some, yes.
So the rule, again, you know, this is the argument. Well, the rules have changed, you know, and I mean, I'm not endorsing it, but if we're thinking about all these little caveats, though, whether they belong or it's legit or not, I think that's another one that has to be put into place, because
But don't you think the 150?
Maris,
Don't you think the 154 versus 162 is a legitimate point of discussion? Because I do.
well,
I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from Maris.
So then you agree with me about the DH then?
No, I actually don't.
The rule changed, but Roger Maris, when he hit home runs, it was either as a pinch hitter, still available in the game today, and as the right fielder. That was it. Nothing else. He couldn't go to the plate as a designated hitter.
Well, that's fine, but that's a rule change. We're talking about an
that's
illegality, something
no,
that's against the rules.
No. But 154 versus 162. That's what I'm saying. I mean, so that's a comparable change to the game.